Welcome back to No Longer a Hustle. I'm your host, Cassie. Last time, we talked about the TBI being the forced stop, the moment the universe told me to quit the hustle. But what happened right after the crash? You're left with the silence, and in the silence, a new enemy rises: guilt. Today, we're taking that guilt apart, piece by piece, and turning it into a mandate for healing. Here I am, sitting in the middle of this unwanted change. I can't work and earn money the way I desperately want to for my 3 children. The hustle is over, but the bills keep piling up, especially the medical ones for Eduardo alone. There are so many that I can't even keep track of them all. That feeling of not being able to provide the way I used to, it's like a weight pressing down on my chest. The new job, the one I took because my brain and physical ability can no longer handle the demands of the EL specialist career, came with a painful decrease of salary, almost $20,000. That's a devastating hit without a second stream of revenue. It was so difficult to make ends meet with that pay cut that I had to forego paying certain bills and even had to ask for help with my mortgage. The shame of having to ask for help with the roof over my children's head. It is a painful reminder that I can no longer carry the weight of my family on my own. That's the heavy cost of the forced stop. I left my in-person job around November of 2024. Looking back, I thought it might not have been the best of times. But my episodes at work, slurred speech, not remembering what I was doing, the worsening MCI symptoms, combined with administration threatening my position by saying they could put someone else in it if I took days off, made me uncomfortable in staying. The load became too much. I had started taking days off due to Eduardo's crisis and Selma's autistic burnout. And the mental load of it all was overwhelming. This financial instability is compounded by the theft of my time. Post-accident, I was thrown into a constant state of motion, not from hustling for money, but from hustling for appointments. First, my own were weekly, then monthly, then back to weekly. On top of that, it was immediately about establishing care for the children. Getting Eduardo stable after his discharge from long-term treatment and managing autism diagnosis and therapy for Selma and Malek. We're still waiting on crucial ABA therapies for them. It is simple, brutal reality of navigating a complex, underfunded system while carrying the weight of an invisible illness. The pile of forms, it all screams at me. Your financial drain. You're letting your children down. That's where the guilt lives. This new reality has changed my relationship with time. Not only do I find myself in bed by 7 or 8 at the latest, but the time I do spend working is constantly questioned. My husband asks me directly about the time it takes to fill out paperwork for the children, demanding to know why it takes longer than it did prior to the accident. He doesn't see the MCI fog or the struggle to focus. He just sees a task taking 3 hours instead of 1. This questioning, where is the time going, feels like a constant invalidation of my injury. I try to remind him that before leaving my in-person job, I would leave the house at 6:30 a.m. and come home by 4:30, exhausted from the day, and just go straight to bed. What kind of life was that for a wife or a mother? This early bedtime is a signal that my body is finally demanding a stop to the old, damaging pace. We've named the enemy. Now, how do we stop it? For me, the answer came through my son, Malek. I want you to think about someone you love fiercely, someone whose potential you never doubt. Malek's journey has been anything but easy. He was essentially nonverbal until the age of 5. For years, he was an eloper, sneaking out his bedroom window onto the rooftop or into the backyard at night. Despite all of that, the autism, the ADHD, the learning disabilities, he is a creative, artistic child with a hyperfixation on technology. I would invest money in him because he knows the formula to be a successful streamer and a YouTuber. I see his future. I see his worth. It breaks my heart how he asks me for equipment, such as a computer or a camera, and I just can't get it for him. Now, here's the question that hurts, but is the key to our healing. Why is it easy to validate his future, but impossible to validate my own? Why would I immediately greenlight a camera for him if I could, but feel crippling shame buying a small pillow for myself, even if it's the only thing that helps manage a migraine? And it's not just for the inner voice. My current husband will look at me and ask why I don't take the time for myself. Why don't you do something for yourself? Take the time, buy something for yourself, or meditate. He sees the need for the rest, but he doesn't see the silent internal fight. He doesn't hear the veto echo that says, you don't deserve the time, the money, or the investment. This isn't about logic. It's about the veto echo. For years, I lived in relationships where my ideas were dismissed. My voice and authority were vetoed. The guilt you feel is the echo of that external veto. It's your own mind now stopping you, saying, you're a drain, you don't deserve the investment, your ideas are secondary. To invest in yourself, to take the rest, to buy that book, to dedicate 30 minutes to a passion just for you, is that final, most defiant act of reclaiming your intellectual and emotional authority. It's the moment you finally say yes to yourself after decades of being told no. This is the mandate for healing, not self-indulgence. Here is your tactical plan for fighting the guilt. First, we institute the 5% rule. Look at your most precious resources, time, money, and energy, and budget just 5% of each. Treat it like a mandatory bill. Frame that money as the anchor maintenance fee, the cost of preventing the collapse of the caregiver. You are investing in the most important piece of equipment in the house, your own brain. Second, when the guilt screams in your ear, use the, is this an anchor investment? Check, stop, and ask, is this action an investment in the long-term health of the anchor of this family? If you're resting because your TBI brain is signaling a migraine, the answer is yes. The guilt is wrong. My brain and my health mandate this stop. The hardest part of the TBI is the MCI, the loss of mental quickness. But the beautiful truth is that my new limits are the only thing that forced me to quit the hustle. Accepting these limits is not surrender. It is the ultimate act of self-love and wisdom. The investment isn't selfish. It's the only way to ensure that when Eduardo, Selma, or Malik need their mother, the anchor isn't just present, but whole. Thank you for taking the difficult step with me. I know fighting the guilt is exhausting, but remember, your rest is a mandate. Your self-worth is non-negotiable. Next week, we are moving on to episode 3, Finding My Voice After the Veto. We'll dive deep into those past toxic relationships and the practical steps we can take to trust our own intuition, even when our inner voice has been silenced for decades. I'm your host, Cassie, and I'll talk to you next time on No Longer a Hustle.